to be almost monochromatic here. It's a lot of white happening here. Even the drinking glass is white today.
Yeah, yeah, it might be a sign, a white flag of surrender. I don't know.
This wasn't
Okay.
uh, this wasn't on purpose. It's just sort of this is how my apartment is.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so yeah, so we're live. So hello everyone, you're listening to the Everything Geek podcast. I'm your host Ruari, and joining me today is a very special guest. We have Jeff Hendrick, best known for playing a Mandalorian Covert Warrior, an Aqualish Pirate, and a Klatooinian Pirate in the Mandalorian. How are you today, sir?
Good. And yourself?
I'm doing very well, thanks. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, great to have you joining us. Can you tell me how you got into acting, first of all?
Well, I started actually in stand-up in San Francisco, and I did that for about a decade. And then thought sort of the natural progression in an unnatural occupation is to come to Los Angeles. As my friend Sabrina Matthews used to say, this is where they plug the cameras in. So, if that's what you're looking to do, this is the place to be. So that's how that started. And I got started in stand-up on a dare.
uh, Tell me a bit more about that. Like, what did the dare involve? Who was
um,
doing the daring?
all right, so Greg Barrett, who co-wrote "He's Just Not That Into You" and then hosted that show, he started doing stand-up at the Holy City Zoo in San Francisco about 2 weeks before he asked. He challenged me to do it, and we were both waiting tables during the day at the same restaurant. And he said, you should do that. You're funny enough here when you're slinging fajitas. Why don't you go do it on a stage? All right. So I did, and it didn't go terribly. And then the next time went terribly, and the next time went better. And then I was hooked. So that was that. Started doing stand up, sort of driving around the country and telling jokes to strangers in bars and clubs. And got my SAG card prior to leaving San Francisco, starring in a trailer for the Mill Valley Film Festival. Now, I auditioned originally to be sort of the spoof send up of James Bond. So I wore the black suit and, white shirt, and I tried to, be very Sean Connery. And I didn't get the James Bond part. They did, however, cast me as Dennis Hopper from Apocalypse Now, the crazy photographer. Now, I don't know what in my James Bond audition led them to think that I would be a good drug crazed photographer, but there you have it. They saw that in that performance somehow, and that was that. Since it was a SAG gig, I got my SAG card, so I had that prior to moving to Los Angeles, which is a big advantage because trying to get one down here, very hit or miss, and you need a card to play the big game. So that's
Yeah.
how it started. It started from stand up, and then me being, the guy from Apocalypse Now. You know what I mean? He's a big man, but I never did that in the audition.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's what they saw somehow. So
Maybe you should ask that casting person if you still talk to them, be like,
right, you're like, what
why
did you see?
yeah, I don't know, maybe drunk Sean Connery or something. I don't know.
Who knows? But that was the first legit union gig, and had more since then, thankfully. Very very lucky to be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Can you tell me how you were originally cast in The Mandalorian?
So I was signed up with an agency called Central Casting, which a lot of people are down here, and they do background and day player casting. And so I got a call that said go for this fitting, uh, and I went. And the thing about larger productions and like famous stuff, they all have code names. So it wasn't like I showed up thinking, "Oh, I'm on the Mandalorian." The code name for that season was Foundry. So I'm like, I have no idea what Foundry is. I just showed up. And they said, "Okay, we'll stand up on these apple boxes and we'll have these two costumers fit you." Cool. So they drag in this like half a refrigerator sized box of stuff, and laying right on the top is a white stormtrooper leg in two pieces. And I looked at it, and I looked at the costumer, and I looked back at the costume, and I said, is this, am I And they both looked at me and they said, "Oh, you didn't know?" I'm like, yes, I didn't know. Foundry's not a Star Wars thing. How would I possibly know? And then, as soon as they said yes, like the Macaulay Culkin in my head, the 12-year-old just lost his shit, was just running around like, I can't believe it. And so that was that. They dressed me up. And the rest, as they say, is history. That was the Mandalorian costume. And the two costumers said, like, you don't mind if we go a little crazy on you, do you? And I'm like, I am the canvas upon which you paint. Go, make me art. And they did. Like, they put all sorts of stuff on me that nobody else got. So it was cool.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
it
Yeah.
was yeah. And then the tough part is you can't tell anybody. You're working on this, and it's you're sworn to secrecy. Every single morning we showed up for work, they would take our cell phones and put them in Ziploc bags with our names and a piece of paper and have us sign the daily NDA every single day. The mouse is not playing about secrecy. So it was very hush hush.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm guessing then, of course, you were a Star Wars fan prior to your casting.
All right, so I'm not young. Let's just get that out of the way. I am not young. So I saw A New Hope, Episode 4, the original Star Wars, 7 times the week it came out. I mean, all my friend Fred and I did was go see Star Wars, mow people's lawns, get money, go see Star Wars, go mow lawns, get money. I mean, just this loop of behavior. We go in there just covered in grass and smelling like the lawn and just loving it. We lost our minds because we'd never seen anything like it. In 1977, there wasn't anything that had ever come out like it. Like it's one of those benchmark science fiction films. You have from Earth to the Moon, back when they were just starting to make motion pictures. You have Metropolis. You have, I think, The Day the Earth Stood Still, Forbidden Planet, and then Star Wars. Boom, 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 boom. These huge benchmarks of science fiction. And like I said, in 77, everybody's head exploded that summer, man. It crushed everything in its path because we'd never seen anything like it. There wasn't anything like it. It
Yeah.
was basically kind of a Western in space. You
Yeah.
got the kid leaving the farm, going with the gunslinger to go help the damsel in distress. Come on. That's epic. That's epic storytelling stuff. And here we are, like, 40 some odd, 50 years later, it's still a viable franchise.
Yeah. Yeah,
Excuse me.
absolutely, for sure. I don't think I've ever felt so motivated to mow lawns than hearing than hearing that. So, you got to see Star Wars so much in the first week.
Oh, yeah. And by the end of the week, the ticket taker's like, really? Again? Yeah, front row, man. What are you thinking? So that's how it all started. Was yeah, absolutely. I was a huge fan before I even ever thought about working in this industry.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's brilliant. So, what were you told about your parts of the Mandalorian Covert Warrior, Klatooinian Pirate, and Aqualish Pirate, respectively, when you were on set about to shoot your first scenes for those roles?
Okay, so the Aqualish was the first thing that I did, and that head just sort of fits over like a helmet, and those two big pod eyes are opaque. You can't see out of them. You have these little slits right about here, and that's all the vision you have. And it was kind of hot. It was like, July in Los Angeles, a little schwitzy. So they gave us these little portable fans that you would stick underneath your chin, and it would circulate air around the helmet and keep you from, dying of heat prostration. So Dave Stickley, who is thin as a rail, lovely human being, thin as a rail. Everybody just called him Dave Sticky or Sticky. So Sticky comes up and he says, all right, here's your action. You're the last pirate out of the cafe as the Mandalorians come and are kicking you all out. We want you to run, shoot, run, shoot, run. Single motion. You're not stopping to shoot. And then you're going to run. As you're running, you'll run off camera. Okay, that sounds simple enough. Then art department got involved and they start laying mannequins in my path. as dead pirates. Okay. Then they knock over a table. Okay. And then they put down a tree branch the size of a VW. I swear to Christ, it was huge. All in my path, which I can't see because this is how much I can see. So I have the helmet off underneath my arm and I'm slowly walking the path, trying to tell my feet, remember, we'll be doing this at 5 times this speed soon. So just memorize where we're going here. So I walk and I walk and I walk. Great. Put the helmet on. And then I had that moment. It crashed in on me. You're in Star Wars. And I got a little verklempt, man. I'm thinking, oh my God, this is the stuff that I use. Me and Fred mowing the lawns to go see this. And now I'm part of it. So I was like, meh. And I thought, if they yell action now, I'm doomed. Absolutely doomed. I got slightly teary eyes. I can't see anything anyway. And now there's 16 people in front of me. And I got to run over. Then our department pulled the mannequins and real stuntmen took their places. So now if I step on a leg, it's a real leg and I'm going to hurt somebody. So now I really have to mind my business. So I get ready to, all right, places, everybody get ready to one, sound, and action. And I run, shoot, run off camera. Didn't trip, didn't take anybody out, thinking, okay, well, that was a good first try. We'll see what happens. And then Sticky walks over about another couple of minutes later and he just looks at me and says, we're moving on. You got it in one. So I just looked at him and I said, TEAM, baby, that's why you hired me. And I think Dave just had a hell of a laugh over that. I think that sort of cemented me in production's eyes as, oh, this guy can actually, follow instructions, do what we ask him to do and get it right. That coupled with the fact that I'm not short, I'm 6'4" in flat feet, and they had me in boots, so I'm pushing 6'6". You can't hide me. You either have to feature me or just bury me off screen where you can't see me because it's going to be like, Mando, oh, there's Jeff. Mando. So it helped and it hurt in some ways. So every time you see me on screen, it's because they didn't know what else to do. They couldn't do anything else with me. They couldn't bury me in the back. So it was kind of fun to be unhideable, if you will. So that was the Aqualish. The Klatooinian that's the other thing that maybe people don't know is that you don't shoot things in chronological order or in sequence. So we shot the big cave scene where Grogu gets dipped into the water to become a true Mandalorian way early in the process. Like second week, we shoot the last scene of the season. And Jon Favreau actually directed that scene. And he came in to the big hall where there were 50 of us all in armor. And he said, first of all, I want to thank all of you for being here. Aw, thanks, John. You big goof. Yay. He's like, look, this is a huge scene. This is kind of the culmination of the entire season. So please, don't tell anybody about this. Like, don't blow this for all the fans. And we're like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Cool. All right. And it's cool to have Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni spearheading all the Star Wars stuff because they're big, huge freaking nerds. In addition to being great writers and great film project people, they're huge fans. So it's a project of love for them, man. It's coming straight from the heart. Everything they do, it's not a mercenary gig. They want it to be good because they want to watch it and know that it's good and go, I made that for fans because I'm a fan. And that was a theme throughout the entire project, from people in catering to the director of photography to all the guest directors that came in and did stuff. Like any given day, half the crew is wearing swag, from other seasons, from the original Star Wars, from other shows. Everybody was a fan, like big body. And that, I think that flows through it. I think you can tell that people really did what they were doing because it shows in the shows. At least I think so.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. It definitely does. So you mentioned the Aqualish Pirate role that
Yes.
came first. That was your first casting. How were you then told that you were being cast as the Mandalorian Covert Warrior and Klatooinian Pirate then?
Uh, the Klatooinian came next, and that was a single scene. It's me walking with another Klatooinian, and we're carrying what looks like an intergalactic keg. Like, hey, we're going to party. We just blew up this town. So that was that scene. Uh, that was an easier costume to deal with because you had full eyes. Your eyes were cut out, and they just put a little boot black here and here to make it look like it was part of the mask. So you had full vision. That was nice. The Mandalorian helmets had the same thing as the Aqualish, the same problem. Like that's it. That's what you got to work with, and that leads to all sorts of funny oops accident stuff because I I took a header. I took a flying header in one scene, and I was supposed. It's coming in to the cave. It's Paz Vizsla, Grogu, Mando, and Katie Sackhoff, and they're right in front of me. I'm right behind them, and I am off of Paz Vizsla's right shoulder. I have to land by the time we're all walking into the cave and we hit our marks. I have to go all across all the way behind them and end up on Katie's left shoulder. Now, here's the thing. I'm sure most people can figure this out, but I'll let you in on a little secret. Grogu doesn't actually float in a little half moon saucer. Okay? That's on a pedestal, and the pedestal is connected to a platform. The platform has wheels, and the wheels go on a dolly track, same as a camera would. It's the same kind of platform. So I have to not only navigate the cross, I have to cross the tracks and not hit them with my feet. So, and action. Great. And I'm walking, and it's left foot, right rail, clear. Right foot, right rail, clear. Left foot, left rail, clear. Right foot, left rail, caught the toe. And so as I'm falling over, I kind of look over out of my right eye and I think I don't want to take down the $15,000 baby Grogu. Okay, because that'll end it. That'll end my career on this show right then and there. So I just lift my right foot and launch myself forward, just through the air. And I go head first into the cave wall, and my Mando helmet shoots across the soundstage 35 feet. Kapew! Like I actually heard the kapew in my head as it happened. And so I kind of collapse into this lump. And if you've ever fallen, you have to do that sort of system reboot thing in your head for the first couple of seconds. Like, am I bleeding? Am I broken? No, I'm okay. And to his credit, Tate, who played Paz Vizsla, comes running over. He's like, man, are you okay? And the first thing I said is, where's my bucket? And he looks at me and he says, fuck your helmet, dude. Are you okay? I'm like, yeah. Still, where's my bucket? And I look, and JoJo, who was Katie Sackhoff's stunt double and who did 98% of the work because, she's in a helmet. She looks over and she starts plotting and she says, dude, second season, 30 feet. I went, yeah, all right. Mine wasn't that far. You got to be bragging because you're the stunty. I get it. Whatever. I would love to find that footage because it has to be one of the better launch yourself into a walls on the Mandalorian ever, I think. But I think it exists. It probably exists somewhere. Somebody's got it on a camera or a hard drive somewhere.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, to be fair though, if you're gonna have to fall and
Oh yeah.
there'll be a blooper anyway, at least to make a spectacle of it, not just a little trip. You're gonna have to reshoot
No,
it anyway. Might as well go flying.
go big or go home, my friend. That's what we say.
Absolutely. So, out of the costumes you had to wear for which would you say was like your favorite, like the most comfortable or uncomfortable?
All right. Well, yeah, because they're very different. The both the Aqualish and the Klatooinian were layered, but mobile. The armor was 10, 12 pounds, maybe, all in. Luckily, I did not have a rocket pack because, man, that's just another 7 pounds that everybody was just, everybody with a rocket pack was always sort of trying to lean forward. Uh, and yeah, they all complained about their back. They were like, "Oh, God, that just hurts." Thankfully, also the prop guys were old like me, so they always made sure I got the hollow rubber rifle, so it was lighter than everybody else's. Like, oh no, here you go, here you go. So you had to have for the Mando armor, you had it helped to have a buddy in the morning when you're putting stuff on, because it's a gray canvas tunic that zipped up the front, and then gray canvas pants that had stirrups on them, so you could put your feet in them, and then they would tuck into whatever boot you were assigned. Those two things buttoned together with two buttons in the front and two buttons in the back, and then everything hangs on the gray undersuit. So you had a vest you'd put on, and then you would Velcro your chest plate, and then your back plate. And the back plate's why you needed a partner, because you can't quite get that to stick on correctly by yourself. But it got, everybody got pretty good at it. I could go from street clothes to fully armored in about 15 minutes. So once you got it, once you knew what you were doing, you were like, oh, okay, here, put the gauntlets on, and then this and the leg. Mine was a little more complicated than other people's because I had the thigh piece for the stormtrooper armor had a clip that was sewn into the leg of the trouser, so it would clip on, and that would secure it. And then the other one just peels open, and then under its own power closes back shut for the bottom part on your calf. I had to sort of alter my gait of how I walked because I was listing to port, because that was the heavier of the two legs. So I just always had the March of the Empire going through my head when I was walking. I was dun 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 dun, and that's how I'd be able to stomp around in all this armor. I also had what is called an obiwashi, which is a sash that's worn around the midsection, and then it had two panels that went down the side of either leg. Dark red, rusty color, and then in the inside was like this gold flake pattern. So cool. And here's the thing. I think the thing I like most about it is it served no practical purpose. There's no tactical reason to have this on. It's completely because it looks cool. That's the only reason to wear it. You're not going to stop a blast array with it. You're not going to fend off somebody. You just look. And it would sort of flow like a cape when I walked without having to have the cumbersome, part of the cape. You just had the flowy part coming off your hips. Forget about it. That's the piece I would love to have stolen, my obiwashi. But but then with the helmet and the not seeing, I went to a dive shop week 3, and I bought some of the stuff that you put in your dive mask to keep it from fogging up. So like everybody would, I had people coming to me, and I could see them coming, and I would just hand them the bottle. Yeah, I know what you need. Here it is. That was, so it was just trying to stay cool because we shot through the summer, and there were days that were super hot, and running around in a helmet and a bunch of armor and a big cotton jacket, you get a little sweaty. But the crew was really good. Like all the production assistants, all the PAs, every 20, 30 minutes, somebody would be walking by with handfuls of water or Gatorade, just going, who needs it? Who needs it? So they really made sure that we didn't die of heat exhaustion. They were a good crew to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant. So, of course, Mandalorians plus the Aqualish and Klatooinian species, they were all iconic parts of Star Wars going all the way back to the original trilogy
Right?
films. Yeah, which is obviously fantastic that they're still being used in current entertainment. What was it like getting to play those roles?
Well, I hate to use the tired old dream come true, but come on. As a fan, kind of a dream come true. Uh, like I said, when we showed up to do it, since it was under a code name, you don't know. You have no idea what you're going to be doing. And yeah, it was Aqualish, Klatooinian, and then I came back and they put me in my Mandalorian uniform, and that was it. 7 months, 7 months plus, I worked on that, and that was from first. We shot, those of us that were core Mandos shot the whole time, and there were like a dozen of us, and I'm still in contact with a couple of them. Because you see somebody every day for 7 months. Unless you're a sociopath, you make friends. Unless you're kind of a jerk. No, yeah, it was so much fun. We had the first episode of season 3 when all the Mandos are running away from the giant monster that comes out of the lake. Carl Weathers, God rest him, directed that episode, and he had us running up that hill all day long, all day long. We lost 3 people to heat exhaustion that day. There was one gal I saw throwing up into a trash barrel. Saw her slam 2 quarts of Gatorade, put her helmet back on, and get back on set. And I'm like, this is the way. Like, how hardcore is that? Uh, we had a lady who was substituting for another regular. That was her first day ever on set, Deborah. And we're eating lunch, and her hair is just sweat plastered to her face. And she's just slowly shoveling food into her face. And she finally just looks at the rest of us and she says, is it like this every day? And a couple of us messed with her like, oh yeah, every day. Yeah, and as we're running up, it was probably 40 of us, all in Mandalorian costumes, and then probably 10 kids. Now, W.C. Fields is famous for saying, never work with animals or children. Um, the kids were great. I will say, first and foremost, let me say, all the kids that were on there, with the exception of one who was beating up on other kids and got sent home, take that. No bullies. No bullies with the Mandos. That is not the way. All the kids were great. Lily was exceptional. She's maybe 6 years old, and just no matter how hot it was just always running around the set, just running in these huge circles around everybody. Just so she got dubbed the Lily Bee because she was just always buzzing around the set. Now, kids, when you're directing them, are like really basic computers. You could program in about 3 tasks, and that's it. That's all you're going to get out of them. And so one of the things that was drilled into the kids is you have your wooden practice knife that you were practicing with all the other kids. Don't lose your knife. That's your prop. It's your responsibility. Don't lose the knife. So that gets cemented into their heads. So the first time we're all going to run up the hill away from the big scary monster, Carl Weathers says, all right, everybody ready? And action. And we all take off running up the hill. And the kid in front of me is running, drops his knife, and stops dead in his tracks to pick it up. And I am running full tilt boogie right behind him. And I'm thinking, well, this is where it all ends for everybody. He's going to die. I'm going to die. We're all going to die. Oh, my God. So I just juked to the right, and I took my hand, and I just swooped him up. Picked him up and just kept running as hard as I could. And we get cut. Like then it, everybody comes down and the production assistants pull the kids aside and said, look, if you drop your knife, just keep running. Just keep running. It's okay. It's okay. Just keep running. So we ran all day that day, and it ended up looking great. But it's always wild to work on something, know your experience from what you did and what you saw happen, and then when it finally comes out, what actually makes it onto the screen. Crazy, because a ton of stuff didn't make it that a bunch of us thought, why? why didn't I make it? That was really fun. That was really funny. But there's only, so much time in an episode. You put in all the storytelling you can, and then some of the fun stuff, some of the extraneous stuff, goes by the wayside, which is a shame. But if you ask me if I'd do it again, I'd do it again in a heartbeat.
Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant. So you mentioned you still keep in contact with some of the other Mandalorians. What's
Yeah.
that like, having made friends from being on Star Wars?
Actually, I ran into Ruari Ross, another Mandalorian, on another project, on a completely non-Star Wars related movie. And I walked by this kid and I look at him, reverse, pull up, Rory, give a big hug. I mean, it's fun to see him. And I ran into a gal who was around the set from where I was sitting and came around and said, "Your name's Jeff." And I looked at her and I said, "Shauna, is that you?" She said, "I recognized your laugh all the way across the room." I'll show you this. I had a birthday while I was on the set, and I was doing double duty that day. I was doing my Mando part, and then I was standing in for Paz Vizsla because I was the only other guy about his size. So I was gone. Like, I didn't sit most of my birthday. And I finally had a chance to come back and kind of into a chair for a few minutes. And Rory had everybody sing happy birthday. They got me this ridiculous card that you would give to an 8-year-old girl. But the cool part, everybody signed it.
Wow.
Like everybody, all the Mandos, JoJo, Katie's double, Paz Vizsla, Tate signed it, and Brendan Wayne signed it. And that's one of the ones I'm most bragging about because he's 98% of the Mandalorian. Now, I love me some Pedro Pascal, and it's groovy when he does the voiceover and occasionally takes off his helmet. But the guy who's really in the suit for almost all of it is John Wayne's grandson, Brendan Wayne, who is a hell of a guy. We had a night shoot. We did 3 days of nights, which I don't know if you've ever worked through a night. That's like one of the least fun things to do for me as an actor is to shoot at night because it just screws your body up. I should be sleeping now, is all your head keeps saying. You should be asleep. So third day in, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and everybody's dragging ass. Like we're all exhausted. We're all just yeah. And Brendan comes running onto the set from the neck down in full Beskar Mando armor, but then his head is naked and he's wearing a big, huge cowboy hat. And he's playing DMX on his phone as loud as it'll go. And he just comes stomping into the set. "Get up, everybody, get up." And when you're like, I guess we're getting up. I guess this is the rally. Like it picked everybody up and we were able to get through the last couple of hours and put it to bed. But I'll never forget that. It was just like, all right, this again, we say it a lot, but it's true. This is the way.
Yeah. This is the way rally.
This is the way. Yeah. So that was, that's one of the singular Brendan Wayne moments I have in my head is him pumping everybody up, just trying to get us to the last of that 3-day night shoot.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Can you tell me more about your reaction to being cast in The Mandalorian?
Well, you saw Home Alone, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty much me. That's pretty, Colin McCulkin just freaking out. Like, I can't believe it. But again, you can't tell anybody about all this cool stuff you're doing until after the show comes out. You got to can't tell anybody. What are you doing? I can't tell you. What are you working on? Foundry. What is it? I can't tell you.
Yeah.
It's like,
that's just the that's the thing with Star Wars. Just say random code names means absolutely nothing to anyone.
Right. Second season was Buccaneer. I mean, different. Obi-Wan had its own code name. Ashoka had its own code name. I mean, the mouse is very, very hush hush on what we're doing here. Shh, quiet. Can't tell anybody.
Yeah, for sure. So what was your overall experience like working on The Mandalorian and working with the cast and crew?
It was anytime if you pay attention when you get a gig like this, it's like going to film school. if you just watch what people are doing, and you watch how people are directing, and you watch how they set up each shot in the camera and what they put in the box, it's, I'm like a sponge. I'm just trying to soak up all this information, all these experiences that other people have as well. Um, and on some level, it's a gig, it's a job. You've got stuff you have to do. You got to pay attention. Uh, you get there on time. You get your costume in on time. You get to set, and you pay attention because you don't want to be running over kids or flying over railings or any of that crazy stuff. So yeah, it's your part of your brain is always, this is a gig, I'm doing my job, but there's a little part of you that is always just absolutely beside yourself with joy, that you're just like, I can't freaking believe I'm here doing this. This is so cool. And that is a constant little hum in your head the whole time you're there. For me, anyway, my experience was just like, like that's part of me was always doing that. You can't believe it. And you got to sort of keep that part contained so you can actually do the job. Because otherwise, there'd be like 40 of us just going, I can't believe this is so cool, and not getting anything done.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And going back there, I mean, you might be forgiven for like, flying off, when you've tripped over, but I don't think you'd be
Yeah.
forgiven if you knocked over a kid or whatever.
No, and there, yeah, boy, that running into the cave scene, Jesus, that was probably the hardest, most difficult day. I think was trying not to run it over little kidlets that are just trying to get up the same hill you are. Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what kind of direction were you given from the Mando crew for your roles as the Mandalorian Covert Warrior, the Klatooinian, and the Aqualish, respectively?
uh, Nobody gives you like character background stuff on this. That's you got to make that up yourself. And I wrote a 3-page treatment for my Mandalorian guy. I gave him a name, I gave him a backstory, I gave him a reason to be there. And I took that from Laurence Olivier, who actually said, if you're on stage and you're nothing but a spear carrier, just in the background, give your guy a name, give him a backstory. Why is he there? Does he have kids? Does he have a wife? What is his combat experience? Like, build that so when you're there here. The thing I did before every take was I get my helmet on and I'd give it a 2 big taps right on the head, just sort of clear out everything, and then this is where we are right here. So that was the traditional thing that I would do to get myself ready to go and in the moment. But yeah, other than that, it's basically run over here, don't trip over that. I mean, they're real basic, simple instructions. Don't hurt yourself, don't hurt anyone else. Don't drop your blaster, don't look at the camera. I mean, really, again, basic, basic, basic instructions.
Don't damage any of the props.
To my credit, I never broke my antenna on my helmet. There were a number of people who had the helmet had to go into the shop overnight. I did at one point crack my back plate by leaning into an artificial, which is weird. I leaned into an artificial rock. The artificial rock broke it. There you have it. Didn't break it, just gave it a little crack, and so that went back to the shop. But I did pretty well about not busting up my gear. I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm sure the customers were even more happy about that.
All right, so another inside baseball story to this. When the big creature that chased us up the hill gets blown up by the Mandalorian, uh, special effects actually created a blood and guts cannon that was going to shoot. So the guts were made up of pieces of foam stuffed into pantyhose and then covered in this red goo that they would just stuffed into this giant pneumatic cannon and it would just shoot out about 15 feet. And the customers took one look at that and they said, if a drop of blood, single drop of blood gets on any of these costumes, we're going to kill you. So unfortunately, the blood and guts cannon was put to the side. It was never used. That was all done CGI post production.
Wow, yeah, it's amazing the amount of work that goes in behind the scenes.
Oh yeah, and it's the other thing that was kind of interesting to be in on was the practical versus the CGI. So the cave front and the sand covered hill and the sides of the cave, that was all real. That was all built. Um, the lake itself, there was a man made lake about, oh, hell, I don't know, 40 by 50 feet, about 200 square feet, and only about 8 feet deep at its furthest dip. That was real. And then the CGI, of course, made it look like it was, part of the Grand Canyon. The entire outdoor place that we shot was surrounded by 40 feet of blue screen everywhere. And they had these big fluorescent orange X's stuck to different places. And they would say, okay, that's the starfighter that you're looking at up there. So all the Mandalorians look at the orange X. Right? That's what that is. You're looking over there. We all look at that X because there was nothing there. That being said, there was one day that we came around one of the screens onto the back lot, and there was a full-sized N1 starfighter there. And we all geeked out. And we all came, a couple of us went running towards it. We just hear through it, step away from the starfighter. Do not touch the starfighter. Oh, Dad, come on. So yeah, we were like 15 feet is about as close as we could get to that bad boy, but it was really cool to see it, full sized. There it was. And they were using it that day to do a couple of close-ups of, Grogu looking out the dome window and then Mando being in the pilot's seat. So they shot that later. The back of Bo-Katan's spaceship, only the round port part was real and practical. Everything else was a big blue screen behind it. So you'd walk up into the ramp and you'd get in there and you just turn this corner and there were just, part of the sound stages there. That was kind of the most amazing thing is to watch. One of the amazing things was to watch what the practical set builders and designers would do with this 2 football field size space every couple of weeks. Because the first couple of days I shot there, it was all the interior of the spaceport of the town when the Mandos are coming in and kicking out the space pirates. So there was a town that was built there. We come back 3 weeks later, there's no town. It's just all desert. There's the hill, there's the cave, and there's a lake exactly where the town was. Came back a couple of weeks later, no cave, no lake, all black sand now. So it was the physical transformation that took place in the space that we shot was amazing. I think just as cool as any CGI stuff was the actual practical stuff that they did for us. The stunt guys were amazing to watch. I got to watch this kid who was third generation, like his dad started the Stuntman's Association. His grandfather started the Stuntman's Association. And the stunties had been on everything from Mandalorian season 1 on. There were like 10 guys that did every stunt for every show that came down the line. And this kid got to do a free fall off a 25-foot platform into about 7 feet of water. And he did it 3 times. And it just, you're crazy. You're 24 years old. You have no fear. You've been doing this all your life. You're still crazy. And it looked great. It just, because he just threw himself off the platform. Like, it reminded me of the Warner Brothers cartoon when Bugs Bunny jumps off the platform into a shot glass, for God's sakes. It had the same vibe for me. I'm like, I can't believe he's going to do this. I can't believe he's going to do it 3 times. Yikes. I mean, they were hooking cables up to people, pulling them into the water. It was, it's crazy. It was crazy fun to watch. Like I said, if you just keep your mouth shut and your eyes open, it's like going to film school. You can learn so much just by hanging out.
Yeah, absolutely. Stunt performers have to be very fearless, that's for sure.
Good grief. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What would you say are your favorite memories from your time working on The Mandalorian?
This sounds so lame. Food. The catering was out of control. It was so good. If you ever go to Hollywood and you're ever on a set and you walk onto the set and there's a big M on the side of the catering truck, it's Mario's. You're going to get fed like a king. Oh my God. So the food was great. Just everybody digging being there. There weren't a lot of cranky moments. Nobody, no prima donna moments. Everybody just wanted to be there and wanted this to be a good experience for everybody. Uh, One time, Carl Weathers spoiled us. He got a God, what was it? It was a cupcake food truck. He had that just come on and feed everybody cupcakes after lunch. So we're all just trying to like not go into a sugar coma afterwards. So much fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Just the people in general that were just like I said. Everybody wanted to be there. Everybody wanted to make it work. Everybody was busting their ass so that everybody had a good time. Uh, And Cody and Andrew and Dave were the three production assistants that were basically, we called them the Mando Wranglers, because that's basically what they were in charge of our group of 12, and then whoever else was going to be on extra that day. And they were brilliant. They're absolutely wonderful. Cody used to give us a bad time about how easy this must be. And then finally, one guy who was about his size didn't show up. So we stuck Cody in his costume, and Cody had and I had a scene together where it was just the two of us blasting away at the giant monster, back and forth on the sand. And after take three, he just peels his helmet off and he looks at me. He goes, "Jesus, this is a lot harder than I thought." I said, "Welcome to the Mandalorian Covert, baby. You didn't know we're actually working here." So yeah, after that, I think he had a lot more respect for what it is that we did.
Yeah, that's hilarious though. Like,
You guys just walking around in your costume. Yeah, you try running on the sand and that shit. Come on now. Go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. What would you say were the biggest challenges you faced working on The Mandalorian?
uh, all visibility through the costume. Everything was compromised by the fact that you had 10% visibility through any given mask, any given helmet. And that was the toughest part, is knowing where your feet were going to be. Make sure that you knew your route, that that's one of the reasons I walked the route with when I was doing the Aqualish part, is because I knew I wasn't going to be able to see anything as I was hauling ass in this costume. So yeah, that was the toughest part, is just, you know, being able to see in the helmet.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So, how does it feel to have been part of an amazing live action Star Wars show for Disney Plus in The Mandalorian?
Great. What's a bigger word than great? Freaking great, super great, hugely great.
Extraordinarily great.
Thank you, extraordinarily great. It's still slightly surreal, even though I've seen it, and I've seen that was the fun part, seeing it for the first time and seeing what made it on the screen, and then going, oh my God, that's me. Because a lot of stuff you do, if you're in the background, you're an eye blink. Like they literally, you're just, that's you. The little pass in front of the camera. Don't blink, you'll miss me. And this was really neat because you're able to show your friends. You go, that's me coming out of the cave with the Forge Mistress and Paz Vizsla. I'm the other big guy you can see there. Woohoo! So yeah, most of my friends are relatively big Star Wars fans, so they were as happy about it, if not more so, than I was. I was just I was shocked because you don't normally get 7 months in a row on a gig as an extra. That's rare. Some shows and some movies have core extras. Like, so there are some police procedurals that have the same cops in the station for the whole season, and so you might luck out and get onto one of those shows. But this was beyond anything I'd ever done before. the Matthew Broderick Godzilla. I did 3 weeks on that, and I thought that was a long time. No, this was, you know, every day you're going into work, going to do a Star Wars thing. How can that not be wonderful?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And yeah, 7 months of Star Wars heaven.
Yeah, day in and day out. You know you're going to get fed well. You know you're going to see some fun people. You know you're going to do something crazy cool that day. Yeah, what's not to love?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So Star Wars, of course, there's a lot of upcoming live action content on Disney Plus with more Ahsoka and Andor and the Acolyte, and other
Yeah.
shows coming up like Skeleton Crew, plus the Mandalorian and Grogu film, among other films. Which
Yep.
characters would you like to see get live action Star Wars shows?
That haven't already, because almost everybody's got one now. God, that would have been a good question to have ahead of time. I have no answer for you. I don't know. We'll see. I think the answer to that question, we haven't seen that character yet. I think they're going to be new. I think we'll see new characters that'll pop up that you would probably say, "Jeepers, I would love to know that person's backstory or how they got here." Uh, and sometimes in the series, you don't get that. You don't get to see why that person is doing what they're doing. You don't understand their backstory to where they got. But you know, not everybody gets a show. Not everybody gets a story. The story I wrote for my guy would be a great movie, but you know, we'll see about that. We'll see if
Yeah.
I can run into Jon Favreau and pitch him my little guy's idea.
Yeah, so what is the idea for your Mandalorian character's backstory?
So what I wrote for the guy is basically the Mando and the Iron Mask. They found my guy frozen in a block of carbonite in the hull of a derelict space freighter, and he'd been frozen for some almost 60 years. So they thaw him out, and he has no memory. So that was his side effect from prolonged stasis. Wasn't blindness. He could see, he could talk. He just had no idea who he was. So they put his helmet on him because all his gear is stacked on top of the carbonite, and they ask him to say his name, and as he does, all of the armor lights up. It's all voice activated, so they know that he is who he says he is, but I can't tell them who I am because I don't know. And I wrote a little bit more about it, that he's probably a member of a royal house. There was probably a battle for succession. He got frozen and kicked out of the picture. But the side story of that is, since he wasn't killed, someone probably saved him by freezing him as opposed to freezing him for other reasons. We don't know. All to be revealed. So that's the story I wrote about my guy.
Yeah, very nice. Maybe Jon Favreau or Dave Filoni or anyone else, would be
Knock wood,
interested.
baby, knock wood.
Yeah,
Because it
absolutely.
it would it would be a fine standalone story for Mando and Grogu to go explore and help this guy maybe find out who he is. Just say
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. Which would you say has been the most challenging role in your career so far?
Just being me. Just staying in the Hollywood game for the better part of 3 decades. The roles you get, yeah, they'll be challenging, but you're always excited to do them. You're always there for them. You're always like, yay. So there's, that the challenge may be figuring out what your guy's about, but it it's always a challenge you want. It's always a challenge you love having because it means you're working.
Yeah,
It's the
absolutely.
not working. You want challenging? Try not working. That's the challenge. It's trying to, stay positive during both a plague and then 2 strikes that happened afterwards that kind of crippled this town. That was the amazing thing is we worked all through COVID. We lost 2 people in 7 months, tested positive. We were testing every single morning. You show up to the lot and you park your car and you walk right to the testing booth. Boink. And you wait, and then 20 minutes later, you get a text that either says you're good to work or you need to report to the health safety person, which we only had one person that was on set, and the person in the blue reflective vest, which was the health PA, walked over and said, "You got to come with me. You tested positive." But that was it. We had because there were other productions where people just got wiped. They got wiped out for 2 weeks. Like one person got it, and then half of the rest of the crew got it, and we got really lucky that way.
Yeah, only 2 positives in 7 months. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
it was crazy. Yeah, but again, when you're working on a production, you're there for 12 hours. You go home, you sleep, and you come back. Like your life is not your own when you're on a show, and that's both wonderful and kind of freaky at the same time. Because it's your Mandalorian was my entire world for 7 months. You get a Saturday and Sunday off maybe, and then boom, right back to it. So it was, yeah, you're in it. When you're in it, you're in it.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So, my final question for you, Jeff, do you have any upcoming acting roles or any other projects that you would like to talk about?
I will be in Kittery, Maine for their big Star Wars fan fest. I'll be signing autographs as a Mandalorian. I just did that in Chandler, Arizona, at Asylum Records. Thank you, Scotty, again for being the host with the most. But I don't know why people live in Phoenix. It's a lovely area if you like living on the surface of the sun. Uh, Dude, it was 100 degrees at 10 o'clock at night. That's just no. Why? I mean, any place you live where it can get too hot for planes to land or fly, you should no. Nobody needs to live there. That's like living in a skillet. But the people there were wonderful, and they had no problem with it. Some folks from the 501st Legion came out to the signing. I'm sure you're aware of who those folks are.
Yeah.
They were they were geeked out to meet me. I was geeked out to meet them. And like, that's a badass costume. That's like totally legit. Holy cow. And you're wearing it and it's 106 out. You're crazy. But they were great. They do a lot of great stuff. They do a lot of children's hospital charity stuff. And they're all big Star Wars nerd fans. So how can you not get along with them? That's who I am.
Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant. So that's all of my questions for you today, Jeff. It's been a pleasure talking to you on the podcast.
Right back at you, brother.
Hopefully, we can talk again sometime.
I'd be doing that. Sure. I'm down.
Brilliant. So I look forward to talking to you again sometime, Jeff. Thanks again for joining us today and take care. Bye.
Thank you so much.